haven't thought of it yet. Um, Ferdian Slips.
Hi, Ollie.
Hi, Danny.
Hello, everyone else. Welcome back. This is Ferdian Slips. This is a place where we get to talk about the shrinks, kinks, and things of the mental health field. And today, Ollie, you're going to be leading us with a topic that I've never heard about, really. What are we talking about?
This makes me so excited. So Danny and I have been saying, we're like, we're both in a really like researchy mood. Like we love the research. We love digging into things. And I thought it'd be fun to think of a topic that I think a lot of people are interested in, whether they're into psychology or they're therapists or not, and that I've heard of, but I've never done a really deep dive into the actual research around it. I've just heard different aspects of it, which is false memories. And I was amazed that Danny's like, I haven't really heard of false memories.
Yeah, like I understand that memories are subjective. I understand that, like, you remember things differently, but what I'm looking at your stuff and you're like, in therapy or like in a psychological or like a
No.
trauma
This
sense,
is
like,
like the psychology of false memories. So it can show up in therapy for sure. Like some of the ways that I think you can see it, or we'll talk about how memory can truly be like manipulated. Sure can show up in therapy, but it's more so just the psychology around this concept that I think people truly believe their memory or their account of something. And it makes sense. We're like, oh, no, like we saw it or we were there, but trust me, some of these studies are going to blow your damn mind because
Okay.
our memories can be like so freaking inaccurate. And I
Cool.
love it. I find it fascinating. Also, for all of our avid watchers or listeners, maybe you have noticed Danny and I updated our cameras. I don't love it. Welcome to my perinatal dermatitis. So if anyone else out there has it, I look like I have hand, foot, mouth disease at random points throughout the day, and then it goes away, and pregnancy is not going great for me. So love my symptoms.
Also, I think, by the way, ghost drop right there. I think that's the first time that we've ever mentioned that you are in fact pregnant.
Yeah. It's, it's a journey.
So congratulations, Ollie's pregnant.
I'm pregnant. Thank you. Pregnant, braces, size of a 6th grader. There's a lot happening right now. Hand, foot, mouth disease looking crap on my face. It's getting crazy. So,
And for me, you can see all of my gray hair.
I know. Like, our editor was like, you guys should really update your cameras. It'll be so much clearer. And I'm like, you can it highlights my paleness. It's okay. We're going to get used to it. You know
And
what?
one more thing. Can I just add?
Yeah.
Do you see this?
What is that?
I don't know.
You never noticed because we don't look at ourselves in this much. I don't even know what this is called.
I know I have this.
What is it?
It looks like someone choked me. And this has actually been like a point.
We were talking about more erotic touch last session.
This has actually been a conversation for years. Like my parents, my sisters, people have always made fun of me. Like they think I'm coming home with hickeys. This is something that I've had for like years. And
that's funny. I don't think it looks like a hickey or a finger. It does just look kind of like a scar or a discoloring. And honestly, part of me is like, kudos to you. It's even darker than your natural skin tone, which is like already great. And I think I would just give anything to be a hue darker than snow.
All right. Well, y'all can let us know what you think about the new visuals. Maybe we'll go back to the old ones.
Yeah, seriously, we might scare people. We'll see. Well, I hope you like false memories because it's really fascinating. I've got so into this. So I want to start by talking about how sorry, I just have to repeat. I love that you did not even know that this was a topic because I feel like you're coming in just like I'm really going to get your reactions to these things.
Yes.
So, okay. So false memory, I mean, in general, is just this idea that like we do not remember things accurately, whether it is because we're just not remembering accurately or that we can manipulate how people do remember things. So it's just this idea that our memories are not always accurate for one reason or another. And we're going to go into what those reasons are. But there is also this common misconception that trauma automatically makes memory more accurate. And here are some reasons why that is not true. So there's this concept of PTSD and memory fragmentation. So there's lots of trauma memory organizational studies, a lot of whom are by this guy, Chris Bruin. He's like a very big name in like trauma and memory. And what happens, or what we see happens, is that PTSD memories were found to be more sensory and emotional than maybe the situation was, and less chronologically organized. So a key finding is that trauma memories can feel fragmented without being more accurate. And that matters because there's like this disorganization that can happen that is not equatable to like, or like that doesn't equal like a repression or like a hidden truth. There can just be like a natural disorganization to their memories. What are you thinking?
What I'm thinking of, this makes a lot of sense when you're talking about PTSD, and I'm thinking about like EMDR right now. This makes sense to me because oftentimes what we talk about in EMDR, the kind of like process we're looking at, is when a client comes in and a memory is traumatic or very impactful, they seem to kind of be stuck there with all of the emotions, with all the sensory input of when it first happened. But as they're going through the process, the bilaterals, the desensitization part, what I've heard, what I've what's been reported to me by my clients is that as we're going through that process, the scene, like if you look at it almost like a movie, the scene starts to broaden and they're able to see like what else is in the picture. Like their memory is so hyper focused at the beginning that it then gets to like broaden out. That's what this made me think of, is that the memories that people come in with PTSD are very much fueled by the emotion and the sensory and not so much like the fact of what's actually happening. And so
Yes.
this so far checks out. This makes sense to me.
See, and this is already starting to answer your question where you're like, oh, like in therapy, because like that's what I think you'll realize is even though, Danny, like you might not have recognized this as a topic or like looked into it, I
Hmm.
think you'll see how we see it show up at
Sure. Okay.
times. So, okay, so that's one. I'm going to go over a few other reasons why research does kind of tend to lean toward that trauma does not automatically make memory more accurate. So the
Hmm.
next one is imagination inflation in trauma contexts. So this was studied by Marianne Gary. And what happened was that they found that repeated imagination of childhood events increased beliefs that the events actually happened. So even when they never did. So the key findings of that research is that there's therapeutic techniques using imagery that can unintentionally increase false memory risk.
Yes. Yes.
Fascinating. Do you get, or what, why you look so pensive?
I am like I'm trying to picture all this. I think I had to read like the
Oh.
finding a few times to like really understand what's happening.
Oh yeah, I mean like you can tell someone 20 times like fell and hit your head at that ice cream shop when you were 5. And
You
if you
can
tell
gaslight
them
them.
that enough, oh yeah, you can gaslight the shit out of people to then it shows up in gaslighting because it's like, yeah, you basically tell them enough and they will believe that it happened, even if it didn't happen. So that's what that one is. A next one is that sometimes it is found that PTSD increases the susceptibility to false memories through
Hmm.
something called I forget the name of the dude. It's called the DRM paradigm in PTSD populations. But the DRM paradigm refers to these 3 guys who studied it. One of them was Henry Rodinger. He's the R, but then there's a D and an M, but it's just other researchers. I think I have it later on, but it's just their names. That's why they call it the DRM paradigm. And with that one, what happens is individuals with PTSD show equal or greater rates of false recall compared to controls. And they
Mm.
think it's because like you said, Danny, there's this hyper association and meaning making that may increase false memory vulnerability because they are like so like hyper associating and like hyper fixated on what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Another one that I find really interesting is sleep. And
Oh.
so there's like lots of sleep research with like trauma and memory. This is specifically studies done by Ken Paller. And he found, and other people, this is like very common in like sleep studies with trauma and memory in general. Sleep strengthens the emotional gist of our memories far more than the factual details. How cool is that? So like trauma can be found like more vivid over time through our dreams, but the details can drift. And the actual like facts of what happened actually are not like reinforced, or you don't have better memory of the actual event with like better or healthy sleep.
Can I posit something here?
Yeah.
This could be completely off topic, unrelated,
Yeah.
but it is coming up to me now as you talk about sleep, trauma, and memory distortion. Like, I think functionally, what I'm about to tell you is this, but I don't know if it's this, if that makes sense.
It's
Uh,
about to.
I once had a person tell me that they were convinced that they were molested in their dreams. That in their dreams, while dreaming, they were molested by an entity, and it felt like factually true. It's such an interesting thing for me to try and understand, but to say that a thought, a dream, a sequence of images that I've had while in deep sleep resulted in me actually having gone through something. I don't know if this is this, but they were asleep, they were traumatized by it, and it was definitely what I might consider to be a distortion.
Okay, so see that's fascinating to me.
Yes,
I don't think that's what this is referring to.
I
I
don't
think
think
this
so
is
either.
just saying sleep in general, and especially
Uh-huh.
if you get like healthy, adequate amounts of sleep. It's not dreaming. It's just sleeping. So like
Okay,
sleep will not make your memories of things more accurate. It will
true.
just highlight and more reinforce emotions that were like of whatever those memories were, rather
Mhm.
than like factual, like step by step, this is like what happened kind of a thing. But where I find this fascinating, Danny, is like we got to do some segment on sleep or sleep research because I fucking love it. And there's that part of it that's like how sleep affects like our bodies, which is just already insane. Like there's the like biological, physical, like how sleep affects us. But then what I find fascinating is it's like the opposite almost of dream research, which is like, I think why I love it is it's like, what the fuck are dreams? Like there's
Mhm.
so many people and experts and researchers that have completely different ideas
Mm.
of what dreams are. And it's like, how would you describe what's that? The deja vu and things that like we can all experience, but then, oh, we're just going to casually be like, oh, yeah, weird. That happens sometimes. And it's like, oh, you casually see shit that hasn't happened yet. Like, how do we justify that? So, like, that to me feels more like what you're talking about, where it's like this weird, like, I'm fascinated by it because it's like, is that real? Could that have happened? Because it's like, where do we go? What is it
Mhm.
speaking? Who even knows? So I don't know. Sleep research in general, whether it's dreams or not dreams, blows my mind because I think sleep is this like simple yet this crazy elusive thing that's wildly complex.
I also want to know, where on this spectrum do people who have dreams of their partners cheating on them and so then actually are upset with them fall here?
Where where we want to know. That is wildly. Yeah. Yeah. Or my God. I love it. Yeah. So I think this is more just talking about what sleep does to like your awake memories, not
Sure.
so much memories getting ingrained while you sleep, but that's a whole other thing. Like that's crazy. Like memories that have never happened, maybe will happen, maybe are manifestations of how, like, who knows? So that was a great question.
I
I
have
also,
one more thing and then I'll let you
yeah,
go on.
that's fine. I love
When
this.
you dream, well,
Yeah,
first
well,
off, do you dream?
I have weird dreams.
Okay.
This is gonna
Do you ever dream of memories? And I think this will count whether you say yes or no, but now I'm just
okay.
curious. Do you dream of memories? No. Okay.
I have
When you
chronic
dream,
nightmares.
wow, okay.
I've had chronic nightmares since childhood that I've seen hypnotherapists about.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
didn't
I
work,
didn't know that.
but
Okay.
yeah.
Learning a lot about you today.
Let's say it is a part of my hints are that I think it is partly linked to my Hispanic culture. I also think it's part of why I believe that sleep, I don't know if interdimensional is the right term, but like
Mhm.
I think shit happens when we sleep. That's
Mm,
not just like, oh, I think sometimes it can be a compilation of your memories, but like, no. I think other things happen or like our brain like opens up in a way or is something happens, I think, when we sleep That is a very real experience. That is not necessarily an earthly experience.
That's definitely your Hispanic showing. Do you dream in third person or first person?
I'm not gonna lie. What does that mean?
Fair.
Well, I know what it means in terms of a book, like
Yeah.
when you read something and it's but like,
Fair.
do you mean talking in a dream? Like,
No. What I mean is to dream in first person is to be like you are seeing, like we see now. Like we live life in first person because my brain is inside my skull. I can
Oh.
only see within my peripheral versus third person. I have dreams, but I'm dreaming. I can see my full self almost like a movie.
9 out of 10 times, I am me. The other 1 out of 10 times, I am the thing that is watching me.
The thing that
The thing.
This is getting real creepy.
It's, I don't know, maybe we'll get into it in spooky series, but like, I don't think I want people to know this about me. That's why I'm
Okay.
trying to be as like elusive and vague about it as possible, so anyone can just be like, bitch has weird dreams, whatever. And I'm like, yeah.
Cool. So we're moving
And
on.
I'm Hispanic, so you're racist if you say anything mean about my dreams.
This is
Rude.
a potential spooky season episode, so you let us know if you want to hear about Ollie's weird dreams.
We'll see. We'll see.
If we get 100 subscribers by Halloween.
Which is hilarious because that's like literally not a lot at all.
It's not, but I'm
Like,
low
to put
ceiling.
something out there that's like people would be like, honey, I think you have problems. And I'd be like, I did this for 100 of you.
1,000 then.
Yeah. If you get us to 1,000, sure. If
Okay,
we make $1 on this podcast, sure. I'll let everyone know I have weird ass dreams.
All right, I'm holding you to it.
Okay, so that's the sleep part. I just find the sleep thing so fascinating because I had never heard of that before. Okay, another one is dissociation and memory suggestibility. This is researched by someone named Harold Arkelbach. I apologize. I'm probably pronouncing a lot of these people's names wrong. But that showed higher disassociation scores are correlated with greater false memory susceptibility. So that dissociation may increase suggestibility, not like hidden accuracy.
Dissociation increases
Suggestibility. So like if you like are highly dissociated from the event, then you're more susceptible to like remembering things that weren't actually a part of it. Because, which I guess to me makes sense because you were highly dissociated.
I'm sorry, like for this look, if you guys are watching or if you're just hearing like the dead silence, like I am trying to like
Danny looks so pensive and I'm just staring at him intently.
I'm trying to like understand this and like apply it to some cases I've had over my career. I'm just trying to see how this shows up.
So this one I think can be a lot more like the example I read that was in the study or like related to the study was like let's say you're being, I don't know, questioned about or like imagine like in court. Like someone went through something really traumatic that they were like highly dissociated during. I will let you decide whatever you want that to be. And now you have someone in court that's trying to like get information out of you or be like, you sure it couldn't have been this? What about this? How about that? Like you are far more likely as someone who is highly disassociated to have false memories around that topic or to be more prone to the what's it called? To be more prone to the suggestibility.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I like maybe, or like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cause like you were highly dissociated. So those are just like different reasons why in general, if you are someone listening that has heard this, I guess, and I mean, I think I've like heard it once before that like people who have like higher levels of trauma or in a traumatic situation probably have a better memory than in other situations. And so I just thought it was fascinating that the more I looked into this, the more this topic kept coming up is like, no, there's this whole line of research that is specifically done around trauma and memory. And they're like, no, memory is still not that accurate at all. So for anyone who did think that, I wanted to throw this out there because I did not realize it was such a like known myth kind of a thing. Like I had no idea. So
I appreciate this. I appreciate this because of how it potentially applies to our work as therapists. As therapists, we can work a lot with trauma. And I do remember being taught this or having an understanding of this, that trauma does kind of stick, like the memory sticks. Now, I understand that it may not be 100% factual. I understand that the emotions and the sensory like will embellish it or change it. I understand all of that. But this information is really doing something to me right now as I'm thinking about our what this might imply for our work with those who struggle with trauma, PTSD. And so again, I don't know if you're going to get into this. If not, I'm going to let you cook, or if you are, I'm going to let you cook. And if not, then I definitely have some like follow-up questions at the end. So tell I more.
Okay, okay. To that point though, Danny, it's like I guess now is also a good time to point out I love looking into this stuff and it's very fascinating looking at it or like getting really deep into the weeds with these things and into like
Mm,
research when you're just looking at it from like a therapist and someone who studies psychology and has masters in psychology versus a therapist.
mm,
Because as a therapist, I guess like I don't want it to come across as like we are saying that you can't trust people or you shouldn't be able to trust yourself if you've been
sure.
through something traumatic or like you're lying to yourself. Like, no, 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 no. I do, though, find it fascinating that there's tons of research on this that pretty consistently shows we still don't have that accurate of memories, even when these kinds of things happen to us. So it's
Mm,
like, I think that's like this like fascinating lens that I'm looking at it through versus trying to like it imply anything about people that have gone through immense trauma or like saying that like I wouldn't believe people or a firsthand account of someone that went through something traumatic. I just truly from like a research lens was like, whoa, like A, didn't even know that this was kind of like a big myth around memory. And also it's just fascinating to me how the brain works or doesn't. I mean, in a sense, it doesn't work and just tries to like protect itself. Like our brains are fucking fascinating. Okay, I continue. So, in general, those studies can be so controversial because I think they challenge beliefs like trauma memories are stored perfectly, or
mhm.
strong emotion guarantees truth, or recovered memories are always real. Like, that is not true. So instead, it can suggest like trauma alters how memories feel, not how accurate they are. So, in general, wanted to put that out there. But now let's get into other studies in general that are just on false memories. So, some of them are going to be more like gist speaking, because, like I did with this section, because there's actually a lot of research on it and a lot of them show really similar things. Other ones, I'm going to get a little more into what the actual study was because I just found it really interesting. Or it was like a huge, like this first one we're going to talk about is, I guess, one of the biggest studies done in false memories. It's like kind of the go-to thing that comes up every time. And
Mhm,
so this woman, Elizabeth Loftus, this time she also was with the psychologist Jim Cohen, and this was in the 1990s. They're both psychologists. She specifically, Elizabeth Loftus, does a ton of research in this realm of false memories. If you want to look more into her, but this one is called the Lost in the Mall experiment. And what they did is they asked participants, who are mostly college students, to recall 4 childhood stories provided by their families. 3 were true, and 1 was a fabricated story about being lost in a shopping mall at the age of 5. For clarity, because that was the fabricated one, none of these kids have actually been lost in a shopping mall at the age of 5. Like their families can attest to this. So that was always the false one. So now the fabricated event is the false memory involved being lost in a mall, crying, being found by an elderly person, and reunited with your parents. The results were that roughly, I found anywhere between 25% to 33%, because I think this was repeated a handful of times. So each time it's been done, it's roughly 25 to 33% of participants developed a partial or complete false memory of the event, with some even like sensory details that were like not in the original or the false narrative that was told to them.
I think I might fall into this.
Like you just like you think you would be like, "Oh my god, yeah." And I remember the woman smelt wonderful.
I have a memory of me being lost at a mall, lost in a mall. I have 2.
I mean, have we checked with your mom though? Like maybe that happened.
Maybe it did. No, I'm for sure. I know that I've been lost in the mall a few times. I think what's funny is that if you take the 10,000 foot view, that my mom probably sees my dumbass in the corner and is wondering why I haven't turned around yet. Me, on the other hand, I'm having a full mental breakdown thinking I just belong to the mall now. In another memory, I don't know why, and it's kind of embarrassing. This is the first time I think I'm ever saying this out loud. I think in one of my memories, I'm convinced that I broke out into song. I'm
You.
convinced that I just broke out into song and then my sister finds me. I've never asked if she remembers that. I'm almost 99% sure that that is a
Stop
false
it.
memory. Despite what you guys might think of me, I have a very creative and active mind, even though I never tell anyone what's on my mind.
But do you sing? Like, I don't peg you as someone who ever sings.
No,
No.
I don't. I mean, mind you,
Oh.
like we are not going to go to karaoke together, and or if we did, you would not be surprised. I would be the entertainment and for all the wrong reasons.
Oh.
But no, I'm very musically inclined, and so that's why I'm convinced that this is a false memory because I have no reason to be singing. But anyways, back to you. I just wanted to
Whoa.
say I think I fall into this. I think I might
Right?
be the 25% here. Yeah.
It's just fascinating that it's like, I totally get why some people might be like, oh, yeah, maybe that happened. But no, I mean, these are people that are like, yeah, that happened and like fully recall it and add even more details.
Yeah.
So the implications are like the study provided evidence against the idea that all recalled memories are accurate, showing that suggestion and social pressure can create false autobiographical memories, which has significant implications for eyewitness testimony and psychotherapy, which we'll talk about later, like historical and just like interesting ways I think this has shown up in history or just like in the context of the world. But it's fascinating. I just think it shows how suggestion and authority can create entirely false memories, which has like huge implications for like how we report things. If people can just tell us like, this happened to you, and you're like, yeah, that happened to me. What?
This is definitely becoming a lot more of a spookier topic because now I'm just
Well,
like afraid of the things that
October is
people have
not
told me
enough
about
to go
myself.
over all the fun stuff like
Sure.
this. It's
Yeah.
just not. Because between fun research and between when we talk about like Gotard, it's Cotard.
Hotard.
Cotard. Yeah, between just all the crazy and wild diagnoses out there, like, there's not enough time in October. So sorry. This one I'm technically not counting, but like it has spooky season vibes, which like
Yeah.
I'd do all fucking year if we could, because it's so interesting to me. Do you want me to continue?
Keep going.
Okay. So I think like a kind of similar study was about like doctored photographs. And this was conducted by Stephen Lindsay and colleagues. They were also all psychologists. And for this one, it's similar because participants were shown fake childhood photos. So like riding in a hot air balloon that they never rode, or just like these doctored photos. And the photos were shown to dramatically increase the belief and detail of a false memory. And it just is fascinating to me because it shows visual proof will strengthen false memories, even when it's fabricated.
Damn. This one makes me so sad for some reason.
Well, think about AI. I immediately thought of AI and like all the
Yeah.
crazy doctored photos and all the fake stuff out there. And it's like, it's already hard when you don't know what to believe. And it's wild that now, but like there's research behind like pairing a visual with it really makes us believe it. And now there's so much like between, yeah, like, I mean, Photoshop's been around forever, but like between things like Photoshop and all this AI shit now, it's like, I don't know. Are we just going to become a population that truly like we all just have these like fucked up false memories and no one knows what's false or not?
You're legitimately starting to get me worried because imagine what our job is going to be like 10, 20 years from now when, people are just doing this all the time. And like, yeah, this is scary stuff.
This is interesting. Yeah. So, okay, there's that one. Here's
Yeah.
another experiment. It's called, this one's the car crash word choice experiment. I think this one I really like more as a school psychologist, and like the power of like words, I just think is really, really interesting. Like I've heard linguists talk about these things and I fucking eat it up. I think it's crazy. So in this one again, Elizabeth Loftus, welcome back. This time she was accompanied by John Palmer, 1974. So the car crash word choice experiment demonstrated how the phrasing of questions can alter people's memories of an event, a phenomenon, which is known as the misinformation effect. So what they did is there were 45 college students. They watched a video of a short staged car accident or like car accidents. The task is that after watching the videos, the participants were asked to describe what happened and answer specific questions, including the like critical question of the study, which was about the speed of the vehicles. And so the manipulation was that participants were divided into 5 groups. Each group was asked the same questions, but with a different verb to describe the impact. So like the question in general was about how fast were the cars going when they blank each other. And a different verb is used each time. So the verbs that were used were when the cars smashed each other, collided with each other, bumped each other, hit each other, or contacted each other. So, Danny, I am curious. I guess I said those very quickly, but the words were smashed, collided, bumped, hit, and contacted. Do you have any idea the order of the speed estimates that people gave based on the verb used?
Yeah, just looking at the words, I want to reverse the order. Like contacted seems like the weirdest, like the most oddly, yeah, most odd word. And so I'm going to say that one is correlated with the slowest speed, then maybe bumped, hit, collided, and smashed. I think definitely gets the highest.
Nice. So I think bumped and hit were the only two, I think, that you might have flip-flopped.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
were right. So people guessed when the word smashed was used that the car is hit. Well, I'll start actually with the slowest. So when contacted was used, was the average was 31.8 miles per hour. When smashed was used, the guess was 40.5 miles per hour. And then hit 34 miles per hour, bumped 38.1, collided 39.3. Are you giggling over there?
I am because like as I'm looking at this, I'm seeing the numbers and me, if you asked me that and use those words, I still think that those numbers are really low. If you tell
I
me,
Well, it was a fabricated video, so who knows? It could have just been like someone kind of rolling out of a stop sign or something
oh, okay.
that collided with another car. Like this wasn't like a freeway crash that people are like, "Oh god." But it is funny. A part of me thought when I read this, I was fascinated because clearly the point here is the word choice matters and will
Yeah.
affect how someone reports something.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think it's funny because I don't know, I view when people ask like height or when people are like, how tall do you think he was? I'm fucking 4'11". I have no concept of height. Like if I'm not standing right next to someone and it's like, how tall do you think they were? I'm like, I don't know, 6 feet. I don't know. They're like, Ollie, he was 5'8". Like, I don't know. I'm 4'11". I have a horrible reference point. And
Mhm.
so, I guess like a part of me kind of thought that, but like clearly, and again, this is another one that like studies have been done that repeat this, and it's the same every time. Like the word used matters and how fast people will report the car is going, even if they all watch the same videos. Again, this one's wild to me because, oh, sorry, one last part of it is a week later, participants who heard the word smashed were more than twice as likely to falsely report seeing broken glass at the scene
Mm.
compared to those who heard hit, even though there was no broken glass in the video. So it even distorted other parts of the memory. Like it made them think other things were true about the crash that they never saw.
Yeah.
So again, I find this stuff freaking crazy. So this one concludes that eyewitness testimony is not always reliable because it can be easily influenced by the words that people use to ask questions, which talk about how freaking crazy that is when you think about like people that are trained to try and like catch people in lies, or if you're being like interrogated, like the word choice people use can totally manipulate how you respond or even you thinking something else happened that didn't happen. Or like
Mhm.
that you're guilty if you're not guilty.
Yeah, yeah. Shoot, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I obviously I'm trying to relate all of this to like therapy and mental health, but it I think this is obviously like a simplified understanding, but I think it does make me chuckle when I think about people who are like interrogating or supposed to like figure out the truth now.
Yeah.
So
Right? Well, and as therapists too, yeah, it's like, how are we asking questions or what are we saying that might almost be like prompting a person to answer a certain way?
shit. No, that's a good one. That
How
is a
old were
very,
you
very
when
good
your
thing.
mother hurt you? You know, it's just like
Yeah.
I think of weird shit therapists
Mhm.
ask, you know? Or it's like, yeah, if you just even remotely imply something in what you're asking, I don't know, I feel like you could totally alter how someone answers it or what they're even thinking about the situation.
You're hitting on something real right there. That's That makes me very, very happy in the practices that I commit to in my work. This is one of the reasons why I really prefer using the client's choice of words, and I really don't like interpreting things without providing options.
Yeah.
Because I can see this starting to kind of like come into play here.
Right? I noticed through reading some of these, I am in therapy. I'm definitely a big like, ooh, like what's going on? What's coming
Yeah.
up? Like when I see someone start to like either they're getting like really shut down or they're starting to get teary-eyed or something and it's like, whoa, 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 like I feel like we just did a 180, like this wasn't
Mhm.
happening. Rather than trying to like, I don't know, point out specific emotions or guess something that I don't like, I have no clue what's happening, is I think I just throw the ball back in their court. And I'm very like, whoa, like what's going on? What are you feeling right now? Cause it's like, yeah. And then I think of those moments where I'm like, oh yeah. Cause I guess like if you were to imply something or like, I don't know, what's making you sad right now? How do you know
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
clearly prompted by sadness? And then maybe they're more
Mhm.
inclined to think like, oh shit, like I guess I am sad when it's like, well, it could also be overwhelm or frustration. Like, I don't know. I just think 500 million different things. But so, okay, I think that one's fascinating. Oh, here we go. Here's the DRM paradigm again. So, okay, it's the Dies Rodinger McDermott paradigm. That's the name of it. And it's used in cognitive psychology. It's a cognitive psychology technique to study false memory, where participants are presented with lists of of semantically, oh, this is another word one, of semantically related words. So they'll get a list of words that are like bed, rest, dream, but not a key critical lure word, which in this case, for this example, is sleep. And then during the recall, or recognition, subjects frequently and confidently remember the non-presented, I don't know why they call it an associated critical lure.
Yeah, I'm 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 guessing the reason why they call it a lure is because those three associated words, they all kind of assume what do you do when you are in
Yeah.
bed, when you dream, when you're resting, all those things. What do they have in common? Well, people sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. I wish it was like the assumed word or something. Maybe it's
Mhm.
the like, I like a good, what's it called? Like layman's terms
Sure.
kind of. I'm I don't think anyone would put, I think it's pretty clear I'm a layman's terms kind of a person. But okay, so what happens, yeah, is participants heard lists of related words like bed, rest, tired, dream. And later they may confidently recall that the word sleep was in there when that was never presented.
Hmm.
And again, it's fascinating because false memories are often recalled with higher confidence than real ones. So the brain fills in meaning automatically, and memory can prioritize coherence, not accuracy. Kind of like with the sleep, where it was like it'll prioritize the emotion or emphasize the emotion, but not necessarily the like accuracy or logistics of the memory. And so I just think it's crazy and people are fully convinced. I mean, like, they'll look at you and be like, "The car accident? Yeah, it was red. That car was red. It could be a fucking blue car. Like, it could be so far off and not red at all." And a lot of the times when people have higher confidence is actually when it's wrong. And I just think it's like, how the fuck do we trust ourselves? We're being manipulated, Danny, at every corner in our own minds, by people's words, by visuals, by our sleep.
It's all simulation.
It's all a simulation. Oh my God, if we ever did an episode on conspiracy theories, we'd obviously have to pick one at a time. Then I think we'd really lose, but they'd be like, who the fuck are these two? But holy shit, this stuff is just nuts. I feel like this might as well be a conspiracy theory because it's crazy. Okay, here's another one. Imagination inflation studies. So this is that, I think we already mentioned her too. So this is another Marianne Garay, something like that. Again, sorry, Marianne. But she, again, does research in this area. And so in these imagination inflation studies, what happens is participants imagine events that never happened, like spilling punch at a wedding. Later, they were more likely to believe the event actually occurred. And they knew they were imagining it. So simply imagining something increases the belief that it happened.
Yeah, that again, I think that's another one that I am mindful of. I think I tend to have a very active imagination. And so when you ask me to remember like certain events, I will tend to remember what I imagined, knowing that that I have no real memory of the event itself.
Yeah.
which is
How
weird.
how crazy is that? And
Yeah.
the thing that this one makes me think of too, this one to me felt a lot more like how it shows up in therapy, or like what we see maybe a lot in therapy. Because
Mhm.
even all the research on like happiness or positive thinking and like positive outlook, it's like the more that you imagine like something to happen, or the more that you like tell yourself like I'm this kind of a person, or like no, that thing's gonna go well, or it's like that is actually shown to truly make you believe it's going to. Or like
Sure.
when you tell yourself nice things, like you give yourself confidence, it literally trains you and like tricks you to start liking yourself more.
Mhm.
So it's like that's also kind of a false memory concept, or like the fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Another set of research or like studies that shows this is in source monitoring errors. This is studied by Marcia Johnson. This one's nuts. I tried to find like a specific study because this one specifically, I was like, what the fuck? And I could not for the life of me get access. Like I would be able to see parts of them, but I couldn't get full access to like the full examples of this like source monitoring errors kind of topics. But essentially what these studies show, because there's not just one study, this is like lots of people do research in this, is it's shown that participants can confuse whether information came from something they experienced, something they imagined, or something they were told. How the F is that even possible? That you're like, okay, the squirrel got hit by the car. How do you know that? And in your head, you're like, damn, I actually couldn't tell you if I saw it, if someone told me that it happened, or if I imagined that it.
Why I okay, it took me a minute. I'm here. I
No, no,
understand.
no, that's why I was like, I wanna find, like, one specific research in the or article in this one specifically, because I was like, "This is mind-blowing to me." But it's like, for the life of me, I could not fricking find one. But I know that this woman, what's her name? Marcia Johnson? Yeah, Marcia Johnson does research in this, so I'm sure, like, look into it. But it's like, in a lot of different studies, this is basically what it is showing, is that our memory is so fucking bad that we will not even know if we saw something ourselves, if someone
Mhm.
told us that it happened, or if we just made it up.
Or now I have a really good example. This is what happens when you tell someone a story, something that happened to you, and then whatever, months go by, years go by, and then they end up telling you that same story as if it happened to them. And it's like,
Yes.
bitch, I told you that.
Yeah, you're like, "I am the one who told you that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, that's a great example.
Yeah,
That is a
that's
great
weird how
example.
like people are convinced that no, 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 I went through this. And it's
Yeah,
like, how?
false memory. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy? Okay, so yeah, I mean, fascinating because the content may be accurate, but the source is wrong. So not
Mhm.
only can we manipulate the content by showing you pictures, by just telling you over and over again that you did something that you never did, by wording things differently, or like using certain verbs that like imply something that's like more serious or not, or whatever. Our memories also can convince us that we don't even know the source of where the information came from. What? I think there's one more little section. I already went over sleep. Okay, it's called the repeated retrieval effect. This was studied by Jason Chan. So for this kind of effect, or the repeated retrieval effect, what happens is that repeatedly recalling some details made related but unrecalled details more likely to distort later. So basically, like the act of remembering can reshape your memory. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Like
Okay.
the more you talk about something, and I guess like as you work it out,
Yes.
either like things start to change, your perspective starts to change. So yeah, this one does make sense to me. And I think we see it happen in the process of therapy, that just as they continue to explore these things change.
Yes. Yes. So it's the like it explains why stories change the more they're told, even by the same person. Which again, as someone who's like, I was not one of those people that was like, ooh, psychology sounds cool because I want to go into criminology. Like 0% me. Yet I hear things like this and I'm like, so you mean every time that people get interrogated and it's like, tell me what happened again. Tell me what happened again. And then it's like, oh, interesting. That part of your story changed. And you're like, yeah, because I've been in here for 7 hours. What the fuck are these lights? I'm out of Gatorade. And like, you've asked me to tell you 20 freaking times. I'm sorry that I'm like, what is going on? And it's actually designed to happen. Like, it makes complete sense why your story would change, even if you're telling the fucking truth. How nuts is that? Okay, sorry. So those were all my random little, I thought that was a good snippet into like different components that could contribute to false memories or different ways it can show up. And so, why should we care? Well, let me explain. So, one of them that we've mentioned multiple times is that wrongful convictions based on eyewitness testimony. For example, in 1989, have you heard of the Central, it's either called like the Central Park 5 case or the Central Park Jogger case, and this was in 1989. Have you ever heard of this?
No,
Okay.
but definitely when you put Jogger, Central, and Park together, I immediately think that someone's about to die. This sounds like
Ding,
a murder mystery case.
ding, ding. Okay, to be honest, I don't know if we're going to find out pretty soon if no, she did not die, but she was
Okay.
raised in Central Park. So,
Jesus.
yeah, sorry.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, on April 19th, 1989, 5 Black and Latino teenagers
Mhm.
were wrongfully convicted of a white female jogger in Central Park, New York. There were coerced confessions and intense media scrutiny that led to 5 15-year-old sentences. No, to 5 15-year sentences. But convictions were vacated in 2002 after this guy confessed and the DNA matched. And so what's nuts is I guess at the time there were like all of these like violent things happening by like younger groups of people in the city. Like
Sure.
people had reported seeing violent things with like younger like kids of color. And these kids like kind of fit the description of what the media and kind of like other things that had happened in New York at the time. So it's like I don't even know to what extent they were like at the park that day. It's just they fit this image of people that were doing bad things in New York at the time. And so what's wild is despite a lack of DNA evidence, these 5 kids, 14 to 16, were coerced into false confessions by police and convicted. And then there's this like media frenzy. So this is like heavily covered by the media. Like I said, it's like framing the youth as this like wolf pack and other things that have been happening in the area. So it like racially charged this narrative that like influenced public opinion. And then what really happens is there was a guy that had like killed, he was like a serial killer and he had killed other people before he killed this woman. And he eventually just like confessed to it and was like, oh yeah, I did that one too. And he acted alone and DNA proved it. But it's like you arrested these 5 people, these 5 kids, instead of, and like you had no DNA evidence. Granted, I don't know what 1989 was looking like in
Sure.
criminal stuff. But it's so things like that happen that are like prime for this like false memory. Like you got these kids to admit they did this. That's insane. That is crazy. And then this guy later just comes out and is like, no, that was me. Like,
Mhm.
what? So, okay, there's things like that. There's this one I found fascinating. So, like recovered war memories. So, for example, with the Vietnam War, it was common that they would find veterans would develop memories of atrocities that were later shown to be secondhand stories or just media exposure, especially during the Vietnam War. Cause I know that's when like media was like a really big thing during that time of trying to depict what was happening there a certain way. I remember learning about that in like history. And yeah, there were like, and again, I think this goes back to the trauma stuff. That's like they were reporting things that did not happen to them or were just things seen on media that like they weren't even a part of, or they found out like they never even were in that city or like in that place.
Yeah. Okay. Like my brain just went a little cynical,
Oh
and
no.
it's like, damn. I wonder how much of this is that kind of like, I don't know if it's glorification of war or your experience of war or just your, I don't know if this is military culture, but like how many of them, were the, the janitor at the site, but this was something that was told by a lot of people. And so it's like, yeah, I was there too, I also wonder how many people, I wonder if this kind of, if there's a similar correlation to people who survived 9/11, that because they were in New York, that they remember these things when it's like, you weren't there, it didn't happen to you, this and that. Like, my
Well,
my brain definitely went in, like, a sad direction, but, this is actually something that I believe, like, I've experienced with people a few times,
yeah.
where, like, you just sit and you listen to their stories, and it's like, I don't know, just something about it just doesn't seem really authentic.
But Danny, I think that speaks to you and I have talked about this so many times where you and I are the kind of people that are like, "Oh, but like why would you Like, it's okay to not know, or it's okay to be
Yeah,
someone that's like, "Oh, but, like, I think this, but I'm not 100% sure," or, like, "I
yeah.
wasn't there." And I think you and I don't wanna be, like, unique in that way, I don't literally mean, like, Danny and I are so special. I am also very fascinated and, like, confused, but I think a lot of people that, like, need to have been there, or need to have whatever, or need to
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
where it's like, look at how we've both even viewed, like, we've talked about other topics that we're both like, "Oh, who really knows?" Or like, "Oh,
Mm,
it's okay to not know." And I think a lot of people are very not okay with not knowing. Like,
yeah,
they need to pick a side or pick a belief about it and feel that it is the right answer.
and this is definitely coming up in therapy when you see people arguing or, like,
Yes.
they've been hurt by someone. It's like, what I always tell them is, let's kind of do our best at owning or understanding the feeling, not so much the action. And some people are just, they will not let something go. It happened this way, and I will not let us move on until you agree that it happened this way. And in so many cases, it's just like, why is that the hill that we're willing to die on?
Yeah. No, you're so right. Oh, that's so true because that does come up a lot. So, yeah, concepts like this comes up. Another one that's not necessarily like a specific example, but I thought was interesting, so I was like, "Well, I never thought about it this way," is in general, it can show up, like, intergenerationally. Like, generations tend to remember a sanitized version of history, whether it's in education systems or
Yeah.
cultural storytelling or, identity protection. And I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, that's a really interesting point that I, like, didn't even think about." But I was like, "That is so true."
Yeah. Yeah, that is on that one's easy. That's the whole reason why, like, we're in a
Thanks, Danny. I didn't know it was that easy.
no, I don't mean anything like that. What I mean is right now, currently, or at least this is where, like, I've noticed it the most, like, the conversation is getting louder around, like, book banning or just the textbooks in the education system, is because of this, is the story that then gets told is how people then identify with themselves. It becomes a part of their culture or how they see themselves as people.
Yeah.
And so you have minorities that really feel like a loss of identity because they're not represented in, like, history books. And then you have majority people that really kind of are almost blind to their faults. Huh, looking at you, president. Like, they're so blind to what they're doing because they've effectively erased their stupidity out of history just by the way that we keep telling these stories.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's okay, that's such a good point. Yeah. So then that's okay, that's another reason. Another one is the Mandela effect, which have you heard of that before?
Yeah, very popular one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's another way that it can show up, which I guess maybe might be like the 9/11 example, like everyone thinking they saw the first plane out of because I always forget some specific examples, but I re-looked up some of the really common ones that I was like, shit, yeah. For example, the Monopoly Man, often recalled as wearing a monocle. He did
Yeah.
not wear a monocle. Fruit of the Loom, many remember a cornucopia in the logo, which I swear if you asked me, I think I also would think there's a
I'm
cornucopia.
pretty sure there was one there,
No,
yeah.
never existed. This one blows my mind as someone who's not seen Star Wars, but, like, I'm just like, "What?" It's not, "Luke, I am your father." It's, "No, I am your father."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, there's no actual quote in there that is,
Right.
"Luke, I am your father."
Yeah, that one is actually very popular. That one I did know. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Jiffy peanut butter. Many recall a brand named Jiffy, which was actually just Jif and Skippy, but there was never Jiffy. And so it's like, I don't know. I do find it fascinating that like so many people would have the same assumption about something.
Mhm.
It's like, that is trippy. So that one's kind of crazy. And then another one is these I find freaking this is more like what I was thinking when I started doing this topic is cult stuff, like cult related things. Like for example, cult testimonies after people get out. One that's highly linked, like a lot of people mention it, is
Mhm.
specifically with Heaven's Gate is former members sometimes develop reinterpreted memories that are like aligned with their new identities versus like what actually happened with historical accuracy.
Meaning that now that I'm out and I, have a different understanding, like, now that I know it was a cult, that now I'm remembering these things as potentially, like, worse or different?
And I wouldn't say maybe, I don't know if it's like because they know it's a cult now. It's
Mhm.
just because they don't feel the same way about it anymore.
For sure.
Like their relation to it is different. So they will recall memories that happened differently, which cult stuff. Oh, we should do a whole episode on cults. I love cults.
Easy. We can't take that clip out of context.
No, but tell me cults aren't like, what?
Very, very, very
What?
interesting. They
It's
do make very interesting clients.
And you wanna talk about false memories, a cult leader, I don't even know if I wanna like, wildly intelligent? I don't know if that's the word, but they know what they're doing in terms of manipulation. I mean,
Sure.
they've got that shit down. And so, talk about false memories. Oh my god. Okay, so why do false memories have such a massive impact? Because it feels subjectively true, it's reinforced socially, it
Mhm.
gains authority through repetition, and it becomes harder to challenge over time. So
Sure.
the most powerful memories are not the most accurate. They're the most shared. And if and clearly mass groups of people can believe things that weren't real, so then it doesn't fucking matter if it's real, because that's what
Mm.
everyone's gonna think is real. Isn't it crazy? It's like, so then what does it matter if it's real or not if everyone believes it anyway?
Yeah.
I love these things. Okay, key patterns across history is that false memories tend to emerge, which I just think this is just another kind of interesting fact, when your fear is high, when authority validates it as a narrative, when questioning is punished, or when
Oh.
identity is at stake. That's why it
Mm.
appears most strongly in wars, moral panics, courtrooms, therapy, and national myths.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy? That was my episode on false memories.
I love it. Can I pose to you a question?
Please, as the not expert on this that just did 2.5 hours of research and was fascinated by the topic, please pose anything.
You tell me, why
Okay.
do you think, or as a therapist, what are we supposed to do with this information then?
I think it's good and maybe it's like what we were talking about, Danny, or what we just kind of mentioned as an aside that came up,
Mhm.
that like we are very, like you and I specifically have talked about this, like, oh, I don't know. And I'm okay saying I don't know.
Mhm.
Or there are times, I mean, we fall subject to this as much as anyone else can. There are
Yeah.
times that I wanna believe that I'm like, "No, that is what happened." But I think maybe this is when it's just important to know how not accurate, especially like firsthand accounts of things or like eyewitness testimony. Like it definitely shows up more in some spaces than others. But in
Mhm.
general, like if you are the client or the couple coming in, or even in your own marriage, you're having a moment where you're like, I'm gonna die on this hill. Like maybe there is a moment where you can just pause and check yourself and be like, you know what? There is a probability that I am also not remembering that accurately, no matter how intense or like firmly I believe in it. I also just think as people in the world, and that's why I went kind of through cultural context, because I find it fascinating how this shows up in history. Not necessarily for us as therapists, but just thinking like, oh yeah, if some of these things also just shape how we view how things have happened in history, like maybe just going into learning about something, or if you're talking about a topic, or if you're like interested in something and you're looking it up, like just knowing that that's kind of a bias that might naturally exist.
Mhm.
As therapists specifically, I think it's in how we word things and how the power of how we phrase things or present things to clients can have a lot of sway on how they might even remember or recount something. So I think in terms of our job, there's a lot of responsibility on therapists to be very careful and mindful about that. But I think more so just on a personal level, it can be used on in so many different areas to just like, I don't mean to say like check yourself, but just like an added layer of like, okay, but then something else to consider here is this. It's kind of like with I will never forget one of my professors. I don't even know if it was undergrad or grad school, but I remember they went real deep into like scholarly articles. And they're like, by the way, yes, scholarly articles are good. There is technically a system in place, it's research, it's whatever. But he's like, it's just as corrupt as anything else. He's like, I've worked with people who got denied because they had sex with someone who was on the panel of people that had to either approve or not approve to publish that. Or
Mm.
they did someone else dirty down the road or did better than so and so, and they're all jealous of them and they don't want to publish their work. Or they weren't able to get the funding to do the study in the right way. So it kind of ended up being a little bit corrupt or whatever it is. It's just like there is like I think it's just always good to go into something not being like, that's the truth. that's the exact thing. It's like, no, like, there's ways we can try to know the best we can, or we can try to believe our remembrance of things. I don't know if that's a word. Try to believe our memory of things as well as we can, but while still acknowledging like this is not a 100. I need to like, just like with anything else I hope people do, it's like I'm going to take the data I'm given and make the most informed decision I can, knowing I still might not be correct. And I
Mhm.
don't know, maybe I just think that if people walked through life with a little bit more of that headspace versus this like aggressive, like, nope, like it's my way or the highway. It's like it's this or it's nothing, or like, nope, like if it's not this, it's horrible and it's wrong and it's, I don't know. I think maybe if everyone kind of came at things from more of an angle of knowing how easy it is for our minds to remember things falsely, for example, this is just one area,
Yeah.
then I think that would have a really positive domino effect on the.
I like that. Like this was a fun thing to go down. Like this was a fun rabbit hole. I think this definitely kind of showcases what some of us in the mental health field do with our spare time. This is what interests
I
us.
don't know what you're talking about.
But then thinking about like the implications in our work, I do find like very, very important. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. To me, why information like this is so important for me to consume, or why I would love to listen to all this stuff, is because to me, I think it really does reinforce like that we are meaning making machines. That I agree with you. I think that if we walked through life with just a little bit more curiosity and a little bit more acceptance for different perspectives, that we would be a healthier group of people. Because I find us to be so offended, sometimes to be so offended by a truth that is not ours, or that does not agree with ours. And going back through like some of the studies, like what holding on to this truth has led or has meant for other people, like the jogger one that you're talking about. It's like, Jesus, my goodness. The need for
Yeah.
not only like the need to have these stories be true, but also the meaning. Like, I can't imagine what was going on at that time, and what people, the prejudice that they have with certain people, and how that turns into something. I think it really says that the meaning that people make of whatever it is that they remember, that the memory itself is not nearly as important as the meaning that they've made of it. And that is our job, is to understand, is to make sense of meaning, and to move that in a healthy direction. So I do appreciate this information. I do think that this is important information to know how unreliable our memory can be. And if we were able to move past needing to own those actions,
Mhm.
might we actually be a step closer to health? So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. I find this stuff so interesting. And yeah, on just like, I love just like theory and like heady, like thinking kind of topics that are like, whoa, crazy. But yeah, I really think it does also, like, if people took that seriously, or like we said earlier, even just when you take things like deja vu and it's like, whoa, trippy. And then you just move on versus like, but what does that mean? Like the
Mhm.
fact that deja vu happens, or like, so what's the implication? Like, what does that mean
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
so many other things? And so I think that's where I like thinking about that stuff. I think it really scares other people, or they're just like, whoa, like too much for me. I think that's why you and I jive, because I think that's a very existential part of us.
Mhm.
But but yeah, so I thought this was a cool way to talk about a topic that I think a lot of people find interest in, or that like maybe they've heard about to some degree. And go into like lots of different research that shows different aspects or components of it. But yeah, then also talk about how the hell this stuff has shown up over time and in all these different ways that really makes you see like, holy shit, yeah, if we can't really trust our own memories, or they can be shaped that easily by the outside world and by things that aren't, or even by ourselves, knowing stuff isn't true, what implications does that have
Mhm.
for our decisions and the world and our opinions and how we judge other people? And it's like, whoa, like we're basing all of this off of memories that we might fully, we might be ready to bet our life savings on. And there's a decent probability it's like, oh, that was wrong.
Yeah.
You just lost it all. So I find this stuff so freaking interesting. I
Well,
hope anyone found any entertainment or just like a fun, cool Snapple fact out of it. Or yeah, maybe, I don't know, approaches things slightly differently. And even if it's on a very minute scale, like when I'm very sure I put the toilet seat down. My husband's like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, yeah, I did. Like, maybe those are even moments that I'm like, maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't remember that right.
mhm.
But then we run the risk of gaslighting ourselves. And then, oh my God, I don't know. It's a never ending cycle, Danny. It's so difficult. But I thought I thought you'd like this one.
I did. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Woo! Oh, fun. Everyone, I hope you enjoy. You have any ideas for other fun topics? Send us an email.
Yes. Thank you.
We
Yes. Send
love
us an
email.
email. A like, share, and subscribe.
I like that you say that because I feel like you're so not the I mean, I don't think either of us are YouTube people, but it's like I think neither of us are the like and subscribe, but I'm really glad you're the one who says it because I feel like it comes out just the absolute most organically and normal anyone can say that. So I'm like, yeah, I let Danny do that part.
Thank you. I guess.
Yeah. You are an organic, authentic, genuine person.
Thank you. That is staying in the final cut.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, good point. I guess we are still recording. Yeah. No, you are. You are wonderful. So yeah, sorry if our cameras scare you, but our editor told us, step
This
it
is
up,
what we
guys.
really look like.
So this is, yeah, sadly, he might tell us to step it down after he sees us on this one, but we'll see.
All right.
See you next week, Danny.
Yes. See you next week.
All right.